Updates on the Drake UMG lawsuit, and the UMG CEO, Lucien Grange, has responded. And he responded with a iron fist saying, Aubrey, you're not going to demand emails and texts from me. Let's go over the article. Drake might drop his last album on the UMG once Iceman comes out, but his saga with the label has much more consequential narrative right now. His defamation lawsuit against them over the Kendrick Lamar diss track, Not Like Us, is going all the way to the top. The industry giant's CEO, Lucien Grange. As reported by Billboard and Hip Hop DX, the executive responded to Drizzy and his legal team's motion to access his communications relating to Not Like Us. The Toronto superstar seeks Grange's emails and texts concerning the song's release, in addition to many other documents. Furthermore, in response to Drake's documents requests, Lucien submitted a declaration to the court. He said this: I had never heard the recording Not Like Us, nor ever saw the corresponding cover art or music video until after they were released by Interscope Records, the statement reportedly read. As part of my role, I certainly have financial oversight of and responsibility for UMG's global businesses, the CEO expressed. But the proposition that I was involved in, much less responsible for reviewing and approving the content of Not Like Us, its cover art or music video, or for determining or directing the promotion of these materials, is groundless and indeed ridiculous, is what he said. Lucien Grange also blasted Drake's allegations of sabotage against UMG. It makes no sense due to the fact that the company that I run, Universal Music Group, has invested hundreds of millions of dollars in Drake, including long-standing and critical financial support for his recording career, the purchase and ownership of the bulk of his recording catalog, and the purchase of his music publishing rights. Also, Grange claims that the boy continues to waste his and UMG's time and resources with this type of discovery. He suggested that personal attacks are for the sake of media attention and financial renegotiations. UMG as a whole responded in similar ways and also blasted Drake's attempt to access Kendrick Lamar's contract. Amid Drake's other reflections of the rap battle, we will see where this legal controversy goes. Now, there was a lot of talk about this response. Now, the first, half of it, Lucien saying, hey, I got nothing to do with this shit. I am the CEO. But did, Kendrick come to me and be like, hey, can I release the song? Because I don't know if you'll approve of it. He's like, no, I had no idea this is going on. Hey, he just dropped a song. He said what he said. It's a rap battle. I believe that wholeheartedly. I don't see a system or a ploy of Kendrick being like, oh, let me plan this out with Lucien and we're going to pump this record. And now I can that part where Kendrick just dropped the track and Lucien had no idea about it. That to me seems 100% true. Just the way everything came out, it just made sense like that. Now, as far as promoting the song, Drake could have a good lead and a good point that they pushed that record a lot more than they would have had it not been a Drake diss or had it, not been involved in the whole feud. Obviously it's a big point, but the whole feud made things more interesting because it's them two going back and forth with each other. And to be honest with you, if it was Drake versus if you look at Drake versus Pusha T, it was exciting, but it didn't have everybody tuned in. And this is why I said if Drake were to battle somebody, it would be Kendrick Lamar, because Kendrick Lamar has the star power like Drake and, the catalog and the music ability to go against Drake. A lot of people that Drake went against in battles only had the music ability. They didn't have the star power. With Drake going against Common, having a little feud back and forth. Drake and Joe Budden having another little feud back and forth. Drake and Pusha T. All these artists are great artists. They can rap their asses off, but they don't have the star power. The audience isn't there on their side versus what Drake is. But with Kendrick, he's got the ability to rap and he has a star power. So obviously all this attention got focused in on this. Could Drake have a point and say that, hey, UMG pushed this record and made it way bigger than it's supposed to be? It wasn't supposed to be this big and supposed to have, this amount of, number one and staying at the number one spot for such a long time? Yeah, he could probably find proof of that. There was bots that UMG pushed it more to devalue his next contract. I can see him potentially proving that. There could be a way to prove that. But to accuse Lucien of knowing this was going to come out knowing that Kendrick was going this route, I doubt it, man. It just seemed like Kendrick was just recording records and just responding, and that's what it is. Now, the interesting part that got a lot of people discussing and talking was this specific part. He said, the purchase and ownership of the bulk of his recording catalog and the purchase of his music publishing rights. Now, people have been saying Drake doesn't own his catalog. He lied because Drake has been saying, oh, I own my shit and they got to, re-up my stuff, blah, blah, blah. And then there's people saying, look, Lucian's saying they own his stuff. Here's where I'm with it, right? You guys, I think people are forgetting that with Drake getting 400 million, I think the deal was, or 300 million, whatever amount of million, somewhere, I think 400 million was the deal. They bought his catalog. They gave him that money as an upfront advance until they recoup it and make a little bit more. And according to some sources, Drake made them that money back like within a year or two, which is insane to think about. So when they give him back that money, it's basically like a loan. Basically, they're just giving him a bunch of lump sum money ahead and saying, hey, we're going to take all the income that's coming in from your music right now. We're giving you this upfront, but we want to make, let's just say we're giving you 400 million. We want to make 500 million until we recoup to 500 million. Then you get your rights back to your catalog. That's basically all that's happening to me. That's the way I view it. Because why would UMG give him $400 million? It doesn't make any sense. Just to sign him? No. Labels work on loans. They just give artists loans, and then if they recoup the money, then they do another re-up deal, and that's really what it is. When Lil Wayne was selling his catalog, he officially sold it. It wasn't a loan. He actually just got a bunch of lump sum money. But a lot of these artists, they just want lump sum monies ahead of time. They don't want to wait until their music finally makes that money year after year. I'm sure Drake, if they recoup the money within 2 years, and it doesn't really make sense for Drake, why would Drake be getting upfront money? It just doesn't make any sense if he made that much money in 1 to 2 years. Like, you can't wait 1 year, 2 years to make that 400 million. Like, that's where it kind of gets a little iffy with me. It's like, why would you get a loan? But I mean, you're already playing with somebody else's money, so you don't lose money. But is Drake really somebody who's going to lose money? Come on, as an artist, he hasn't lost money ever, I think, on any of his projects probably. And here's why I think Drake also actually does own his catalog and stuff. Maybe not 100%. He probably owns a lot of it. And the reason why I say this is because a lot of people don't think about this. And this is an interesting part on my Kid interview, where Kid said, when I first met Drake, this was in 2008. He said, when I first met Drake, he was on the tour bus with Lil Wayne, whatever. He had the most professional, like, book for his music. Like, it was written out, like, hey, this is my CD. He had, like, photo shoots. He had a biography. He had it all organized. Kid was like, he was like, out of all the artists I've ever met in my life, he's like, I've never seen that. It was only Drake that was like that. Now, you got to think, if somebody comes that professionally organized and they haven't even blown up, this is 2008, you don't think this guy is really tapped into the business side of music? You don't think when he signed these deals, he really looked into, what is he getting? What is he owning? There's no way he didn't look at that. Drake is very smart on that aspect. And plus, here's what a lot of people tend to forget too. Drake came in with a buzz. So when he signed to Lil Wayne, there were labels fighting. Hey, we want to sign you. We want to sign you directly to Interscope. We want to sign you to Def Jam. We want to do this. There was a bidding war for Drake. And a lot of people were comparing his buzz to 50's. There was a bidding war. So at that moment, you have the choice to get the best deal that helps you in terms of owning your catalog, owning your music. So this goes back to the argument of Rick Ross trolling 50 as well and saying he doesn't own his masters. You guys got to think, when 50 came into the game, his buzz was hot. Labels were fighting to... 50 said UMG was offering $2 million versus Eminem's $1 million, but he went with Eminem because the outcome of that would be way better than just signing with whatever label. So there was a bidding war. So you don't think 50 had leverage when he went in there to sign his contract, that he didn't look over his paperwork and say, you know what, maybe I get to own certain things because I am hot. I don't have to sign here. I can go somewhere else. Come on. Like, if you're hot, you have leverage. Another example is Nipsey Hussle. When he went finally to the label Atlantic, he had leverage. He started building the buzz. He had an audience. He had proof that he can sell CDs. So when you go into any deal, as long as you have leverage, you can ask for things. When you don't have leverage, when you're an unknown artist, you're not making any money, then yeah, you just get whatever deal's thrown at you and you accept it. So Drake definitely owns a huge portion of his catalog, potentially all of it, or at least 80% of it. There's no way he doesn't. I just don't. If he came in the game that like precise with a booklet and making sure, like, come on, man. And he's been in acting, so he knows kind of not music industry, but he knows like the industry and how there's snakes and contracts. I mean, even in the acting world, there's always these people trying to steal money from you and trying to make sure you don't. Even in we've heard in actors. What's that actor in Drake and Josh? I don't know if you guys ever watched Drake and Josh. I used to watch it growing up as a kid on Nickelodeon. They revealed that, hey, whenever Drake and Josh replays on TV, we get nothing because we don't own any of the show. There's nothing. There's no royalty checks, nothing. So you don't think he learned from the acting days as well to be like, hey, you know what? Maybe I'm not getting anything out of this grassy thing, and somebody's telling me, you get, or maybe he was getting stuff, and he's like, maybe this happens also in music too. So there's a lot of factors into that people aren't thinking about. I think that Drake definitely owns majority of his catalog. 100%. I don't know, because that's really hard. And legally, like the law is, I believe, after 27 years or 28 years, the rights to the music goes back to the owner automatically. That's just like legally what happens. Because there's like a law in music where, it just has to go back to the rightful owner. It's like I forget what it was. It was something about like not screwing artists over. And so after like 27 years, the person gets their rights to their music. Now, is your music relevant after 27 years after you released it? That's a good question. With streaming, it definitely helps though. There's a lot of artists whose career, if it was still CD days, people would have forgot about them and moved on, and nobody would have ever, they would have made no money off their music. But with streaming, it's definitely helped. It's revived a lot of artists' careers because now with TikTok, a lot of old songs are getting used again, and new artists are sampling older artists. So it helps in that sense. But yeah, that part of it where people are arguing back and forth and saying, oh, Drake doesn't own his thing. Nah, they probably just bought it for that moment until they recouped some more money. They gave him $400 million and said, hey, until we recoup $500 million, you're not going to get your money from your catalog and stuff, which is fine. Some artists prefer that money up front, and then they can wait, and then whenever they recoup their money, it makes sense. I don't believe the part where, hey, Drake recouped the money within a year. That makes no sense to me, because why would they give him an advance? Why would Drake ask for an advance if he's already making $400 million in a year off his catalog? It makes no sense. That just doesn't, to me, that makes no sense. Why would you get a loan for something that you're already making that year? It's like me getting a loan for $100,000, but I just made $100,000 this month. Now, I get it because it's money that's not mine and that I have to pay, but it's interest and lots of shit that goes into it. But yeah, you guys get the point on that.